I've just been really fascinated for most of my life with visual imagery, the pictures around us, essentially, that are out there, including ourselves and the way other people perform, those moving pictures of people and objects and things in the world around us, and how they affect our behavior. And is there anything that we can do about it? Can we make our worlds better for us, more productive for ourselves, by having some understanding of how we're affected by the way other people move around us and the way we move?
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a treat. Our guest was voted the #1 body language professional in the world. He's written several books on the topic. His most recent book is Truth and Lies: What People Are Really Thinking. He's passionate about giving people the most influential and persuasive communication techniques to stand out, win trust, and build credibility every time they speak. Mark Bowden, welcome to the podcast.
Michael, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I am so excited to have you here because I think our audience is going to absolutely love the content and the work that you've literally been spending your life researching, understanding, and now teaching so many others around the world. I'm just pumped because I think it's going to make a massive difference for their lives and as well their businesses. But before we get into some of these questions I have for you, tell us a little bit about yourself up until now.
Yeah, so a lot of people often say, so how did you get into this world of body language? Because they're thinking that can't be a usual track. I didn't see the course at college on that that would make me a body language expert. And it's true that there isn't a usual course for any of us, though some of us go through the kind of areas of investigation bureaus and FBI, CIA, that kind of area. I'm not quite the same as that. I was just obsessed as a kid with animal behavior, especially marine biology, how fish behave. And then it progressed on as I got a little bit older into human beings. I was quite interested in how human beings perform, why they do that, why I do certain things, why they'd react in a certain way. So I think there were issues of control there. Why did people react in certain ways to what I did? Could I control their behaviors? Could I control my own? And so I've just been really fascinated for most of my life with visual imagery, the pictures around us, essentially, that are out there, including ourselves and the way other people perform, those moving pictures of people and objects and things in the world around us, and how they affect our behavior. And is there anything that we can do about it? Can we make our worlds better for us, more productive for ourselves, by having some understanding of how we're affected by the way other people move around us and the way we move? So this is, kind of how I got here today on a podcast with you.
Wow. I remember seeing you speak actually at TEDx. Toronto, and they had an incredible B-roll. I don't think that's what they call a little video about you, and where you told a little bit about yourself. And you've got a wide variety of experiences in your life leading up to what you're now doing, which is you're teaching this all over the world. What's been your biggest takeaway from just studying it as your own general interest to actually now teaching others how to understand this and use it in their lives in business?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I've got a couple of answers to that come immediately to mind. One is that if you want to get really good at something and really understand it, on the whole, I think you've just got to be really persistent. You've just got to keep on investigating, keep on exploring, keep on getting more and more knowledge. Just keep on being persistent and never give up that pursuit of understanding, pursuit of more knowledge, and especially look in areas that wouldn't be obvious. Look in the areas for information that others in your area aren't looking. I think if I've done anything that's changed, my area of expertise, this world of body language, what I've done is think about it in a very different way than most other people. I mean, first of all, I started thinking about it in a way of how you can use body language on purpose to stand out, win trust, credibility. So it was how you can use body language rather than how you can read body language. And then when I finally moved on to this area of people really wanting to know about how can you read other people's body language, again, I started thinking about it in a different way and saying, well, it's really about the way you think about reading that's ultimately going to help you understand how to read people's body language better. So this last book that I wrote with my co-author, Tracy Thompson, Truth and Lies, What People Are Really Thinking. I think it's actually really a book on critical thinking disguised as a book on body language. So I think there's, two answers to the question there is be persistent and see if you can think a little bit differently than others.
Now, that's interesting, just the fact that it's critical thinking about, it's actually like, let's pay attention. That's the first thing. I'm like, today, I didn't wake up thinking, what's my body language, number one. Number two, I didn't wake up thinking about what's other people's body language telling me. So this is actually a way, it's actually two very powerful tools that have been sitting in the toolbox that for many listeners, I'm sure, have not been paying any attention to, that can be very, very important in winning or losing in their lives in business, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But look, there's no reason why you should wake up in the morning and pay more attention to this. Look, you're alive. You managed to wake up. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
You've got to think about yourself as if you're out there and you're a bookkeeper. Look, my guess is your business is doing okay. It's doing okay. Hopefully you're not on the brink of collapse. Otherwise, maybe, get off this podcast and start doing something about it. You're listening to this podcast. My guess is because things are going pretty well, but you'd love it if they could go even better. And you're saying to yourself, well, what are one or two really nice, simple, easy to execute things that I could do that would really optimize or increase the business that I'm doing or the work, how I'm producing the work. And what I'm saying is, well, thinking about your body language in a more conscious way, that's something that could really increase how easy it is, for example, for you to get clients and for you to work with the people around you, be that your team members, your employees, your clients, and the wider community. So look, you don't have to think about body language at all. You will survive and you'll keep on going. It's when you want things to go even better, when you want to maximize your abilities, that's when you really want to start thinking about it.
Beautiful. Let's start thinking about it now.
Love it.
And I know from having conversations and listening to you in the past, I've always learned so much every time because it's a big subject. There's a lot of different things going on. And our listeners as bookkeepers have, I would say that it's not their number one thing to go out and have sales conversations or to be in networking situations. It's just not their normal state for many. So from a body language point of view, what can you recommend for them?
Yeah, so let's keep it really simple because simple stuff that has a massive effect. It's easy to execute, and you get big payback from it. So I'm going to keep this really simple for you. Let's just say there's open body language and there's closed body language. There's open body language and there's closed body language. And whether you're with a client or you're networking or you're out in your general community and you're just thinking, how could I perform on purpose in such a way that might leave me open to having better conversations, for people asking me more about what I do, and me giving them a really great answer that attracts them to thinking about me as a potential service provider for them or help for them. Well, you want to be thinking about the open body language. Now, what does that look like? Think about a cold day and you come in from the cold and there's a fire there. What's the kind of behavior your body does in front of a fire? Well, my guess is if it's a cold day, you open up your jacket a little bit if you're wearing one, you open up your body, you open up your hands, you bring your hands, up more to belly area where, it can take in that warmth and that heat into the palms of the hands and into the belly area. You're opening up that torso area. You're starting to smile a little bit because of that lovely warmth. And that's what I'd say is open body language. And think about the voice and the conversation that's now going with that. Now let's think about closed body language. You've come in from the cold, but it's just as cold inside as it is outside. And so you've crossed your hands in front of that belly area. You've tightened up your body. You've tucked your elbows into your torso there. Your chin is tucked down to more towards your sternum area, and your shoulders are hunched up. And now you're having this kind of conversation with the people around you who are also trying to keep themselves warm in this cold environment. And that for me is closed body language. The more you veer towards the open body language, the more open you're going to be to other people, the more they'll mirror that open body language, and the more open they're going to be to you. So it's very simple. Open body language, closed body language.
Such a great visual. And something that every single listener, I think, could think about before they walk in the door to either a sales opportunity or to a networking situation is, are you walking into that warm fire or are you walking into the cold outdoors? Absolutely.
Very simple image to think about. Everybody can imagine it in their head. Anybody now can start, as I was going through that kind of talk about it, go back to that, play that again, and perform that. And notice, can you do it on purpose? Is there an image in your head about that? Remember what that body language looks like. And now, just to humor me, just to humor you, now just try and practice that a little more with people. And I mean practice it like a doctor practices it on real people. A doctor's practice, they practice on real people. They don't do it on their own with nobody. They practice on real people, which means, yes, absolutely, there's a risk. There is a risk to it, but you gotta trust me that if you try out this open body language, you will only see great results. The risk is actually very, very low for you. Nothing can really go wrong around this. So
I think the big risk might be that someone would actually give you a hug.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right? The big risk. Give me a hug.
Yeah, the big risk is you might get more clients and you might have a little bit more work to do. You might have to take on more people.
Like that.
That's it. That's always a risk. But as you say, simple to do, easy to think about. The key now is go and do it. Go out and do it. Just a little story about this. People often ask me, what are the books that I should read about, networking and getting on with people and winning more business. And I always say to them, well, one of the great books is How to Win Friends and Influence People, and they often go, oh yeah, I've read that. And I always say to them, Well, yeah, you might have read it, but did you do it? Because there's a huge difference between reading something, maybe even understanding it, but then going and purposely doing what it says. And what I'm going through, with everybody today is practical help that they have to do with their bodies. So if you like that idea of open body language, my best advice now is, look, just go and do it. Do it immediately and get the results out of it.
It's great advice. And that's the challenge for everyone. Just go and try this out. It's so simple, big opportunity as well. And I love how simple it is and how big of an impact it can have. And then what would be interesting, Mark, is to share, like, what would they be looking? Because the other side of what you do is looking and observing other people's body language. Tell us a little bit about that side of it. Like, if I'm all of a sudden now open, I'm walking into the fire, that's gonna likely create a new response with the people that I'm greeting and meeting because I'm open. What should I look for in the people that I'm greeting and meeting?
Absolutely. And that's a great thought, because you need to now switch on your radar to really notice the difference and the response in other people. Because the more you notice the good response that you get, the more you're going to start to perform these open body languages without you having to put so much conscious effort into it. It's always going to be something of a conscious effort because you're going into an environment that is a little more tricky to navigate, that meeting strangers, or in that business environment where you're looking for new business and there is the opportunity of an element of not succeeding, essentially. There's risk there. So you've always got to do it on purpose, but you've got to look out for the positive responses that people give you in order that your brain can learn that this is a great thing to start doing more automatically. So what will those positive responses look like? Here's what I want you to look out for. I especially want you to look out for people mirroring that open behavior. I want you to really see when you approach people and you're really open with that body language. So I'm going to be really specific with you. Open palm gestures at navel height, opening up that navel area, that torso area, doing lots of open palm gestures, keeping your hands away from hanging down by your side, which is more what you do when it's a cold day, elevating your hands, being more descriptive with your gestures. You're going to see people doing the same back to you. They're going to be more open in their navel, their belly area, their torso area. They are going to smile more around you. Well, you'll be smiling more. That's for sure. You don't need to do it on purpose. You'll find actually when you do that bigger, warm, open body language in the torso area, in the belly area, you start to naturally smile a lot more. So allow that to happen and allow yourself to see that inclination in other people. And when you see that inclination in them to be more open, to smile more, they'll be talking more to you. You'll be talking more to them. You'll be more orientated, to be facing them. There'll be less kind of side on, shoulder to shoulder kind of conversations. You'll be more exposed to them because it's warming when you're exposed to them. When you see that behavior happening, think to yourself, oh, good, this is going well. Allow yourself to congratulate yourself around the results of this, because you want to get this kind of positive association with you being warm with your body language and you receiving warm body language back. Is that a good description, Michael, of what you might see around this?
Yes, absolutely. And what that, it's a fast train to rapport and trust. Absolutely.
And you've got to realize this actually could be a really fast train. Expect faster results on this than you expected, because you're being really purposeful about this now. And you'll recognize in the rest of the work that you do, when you're skilled at your work, you'll have noticed that when you're skilled at your work and you know a technique, that it's a real fast train. My guess is in the world, I'm not a bookkeeper. I have a great bookkeeper. And my expectation is that my bookkeepers, they have tools and techniques that they use that I don't know about, else I'd probably do their job. They've got tools and techniques that they use that get them to the end result faster. And they probably look at those techniques and they go, well, I don't know why everybody doesn't know this. You know, this is so simple to use this technique to get to the end result faster. Well, look, I'm giving you that simple tool and technique of open body language and looking out for the open results. And because I'm giving you this technique, you've got to understand that you will get to your result faster, and you need to be ready to be surprised by that and go, oh, this is actually really easy, really simple. You know, so look out for that speed.
I love it. We're going to have a lot of open conversations, body language in the next week after this episode, I'm sure, and hopefully for a long time after that. Let's talk a little bit about bringing this to networking and as well presentations. And when we have a lot of our listeners go to networking meetings continuously, and one of the ones that would be the most popular is Business Networking International, or BNI. Yeah. And there's lots of presentations that need to happen. What can you arm our listener with in terms of using this techniques in their presentations, short presentations or the longer ones?
Yeah. So here's what I would say about this. And just to let you know, I'm a little bit biased around BNI just because I was a member myself when I first started out around this, you know, trying to get my message across and win clients. And here's what I noticed about Business Network International and that idea of giving infomercials is what that really is, through my understanding, is when you give an infomercial, what you're actually trying to do is win trust and credibility with the other members of your group. You're less trying to tell them, I think, about your product, your service, what you do. What you're trying to do is go, you know what, you can trust me. You can trust me and you can get into a longer conversation with me about what I would do for your referrals. But ultimately, what you're trying to do with those colleagues in the same chapter as you is to win trust and credibility, and do that as quickly as you can. The faster you can escalate how much trust they have for you and their feeling of your credibility in your product, your service, whatever it is, the better they're more likely to give you those referrals and trust giving you those referrals. So here's what I want you to do is the next time you go to a network meeting of any sort, I don't mind what sort it is, I want you to take your attention away a little bit from your infomercial in terms of the content of it, just for a little while. Because my guess is you've put a lot of attention to that content, and maybe you've listened to podcasts about how to do infomercials and create content for those. And Michael, maybe you've had some podcasts for the bookkeepers around that potentially. So it's not that that's finished, but just take your mind away from that for a moment. And all I want you to do the next networking meeting you go to is concentrate on open, warm body language and go, it doesn't matter so much what I say, because they're going to know they can trust me, and they're going to know I'm credible because of the open, warm body language that I do, and the content will sort itself out. And if they didn't get my content, they're more likely just to come up to me afterwards and go, tell me a little bit more about what you do, because they're now genuinely trusting of you and they're genuinely more interested in you. So again, I know I'm kind of ringing the same bell again and again, but it really is this simple, is go back to open body language with people and concentrate on that just for one moment and see the results that you get from that. Does that make sense to you, Michael?
It makes great sense. And I love the ringing of the bell. It's a great ring. Excuse me. But I was, as you were sharing, I was getting goosebumps because I think that angle, this is really a completely fresh way to think about, an elevator speech or an infomercial on yourself, in that really getting to the core of it. I love the thinking. It is the whole point, is to have people have trust in you and see you as credible, such that they'd want to engage with you. I think often people do think too much about the content in the talk or the presentation, and not enough on body language, which is why we wanted you on the podcast, because you're an expert here. But this is such a valuable piece in terms of fast train, coming back to the good old fast train. I mean, anybody who's not in a BNI, incredible organization, incredible results. I mean, if you want to grow your business, it's a place to go. But fast train, when you join, if you use Mark's philosophy, I think you're going to get to results so much more fast that you're going to surprise yourself.
Absolutely. Well, look, I just want to agree with you there, Michael. I've got no shares in BNI, as I'm sure you haven't. I've just been in a chapter, and it's worked really, really well, and I've noticed it work for lots of people. So, yeah, if you're not part of that organization or something very, very similar, you really should get involved, because it's a great way of not only getting support around the work that you do, and a bunch of colleagues, because it can be a bit lonely if you're a solopreneur or you're just working with a small organization and you're out there kind of doing everything and trying to get everything done. There is that benefit as well. But it's a very, very powerful system for creating business and really getting your business moving. And certainly I experienced that. But what I did experience as well was how much concentration people put on the content of their infomercials rather than that idea of winning business. And it's an elevator pitch. And I'm telling you, the elevator is only going a couple of floors. It's not going 11 stories. You haven't got very, very long. And my take on it is what can I actually do in terms of helping people understand my product or service when the elevator goes 2 floors? And I came to the decision of I can't get them to understand anything about it. What I can do is get them to trust me, and then via that be inclined to want to talk to me afterwards, to engage with me more. Or over time, take a business development meeting with me to really get down to, look, what is it you actually do? Because I totally trust you and I would buy your product and service, but I have no idea what it is. That was my objective, is to say, there's nothing that they can never fully understand what I do in this elevator pitch, but they can get that feeling of, I like this person, I trust them, I would trust them with a client, a friend, a colleague, a family member of mine. I want to refer them. Now, what is it they're up to? What is it they do? Beautiful.
And so open, warm, say the 3 things again. It's open.
Yeah, open, warm. I would say what it comes across as in people's minds when you're doing that open, warm body language is they see you as trustworthy and credible, calm and assertive. Now, nobody ever in life said, we're not going to work with that person. They're too trustworthy. They're too credible. You can't have too much trust or credibility. Nobody ever said, they were a little too calm and assertive. We can't work with them. They're just too calm and assertive. Now, maybe too calm or they're too assertive, maybe. But those 2 factors together, calm and assertive, you can't have enough of that. especially when you're a service provider. People are lacking something. They need your help. So if you can be the help provider who's trustworthy, credible, calm, and assertive, my guess is you are on the right lines for getting that person's business and keeping that person's business.
Love it. Now, you said that we don't want to focus too much on that traditional content information. We only got a couple of floors. What are some ideas around, first of all, it's like we're walking into the fire, we're coming out of the cold, warm, we're going to have that in our minds. We're going to open up our palms. We're going to bring our hands up. So we're thinking warm. We're acting like we're in front of the fire. And what should be coming out of our mouths in terms of, is it stories? Is it just little tidbits? What would be great ways to build that credibility and trust?
Yeah, lovely. So first of all, you want to think about questions. Rather than you having answers, you want to be thinking about questions, okay? And maybe questions that are most likely to elicit from the other person a sense of positivity, yeah? So maybe I'm at a business meeting, at a networking meeting, and I approach somebody, and I'm open, and I'm warm, okay? And instead of going, hey, I'm Mark Bowden, I'm an expert in human behavior and body language, and here's my service, and instead of doing that, I'm going to approach them, and I'm going to say, so I'm just interested and curious, what's going really well for you in your business right now? So I'm opening into getting them to tell me a positive story. Yeah. Now, the reason I want to do that is I want to put them and me in a good mood. Yeah. I want us to get on, because if we can get on, then there's a chance that they'll accept help from me. So I start with the positive story, and they're going to start telling me, well, this is going right and this is going right. And here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to go, interesting. Tell me more. I'm just going to get them to talk more, because here's what I know to be true. After a while, as I get them to tell me more about this positive situation that they're in, they will start to tell me some of the barriers to that. They'll go, well, this is going really well, and this is going really well, and we've had a lot of success with this. I have to say, we've come across a little bit of a barrier about. They will tell me something that is stopping them getting what they want. And the moment they go into that, I'm going to say, so that's interesting. Tell me more about that. Okay? They will spill the beans about what's going wrong. If you get them to spill the beans about what's going right, eventually they will get there. Now the key is don't jump in with solutions or your solutions. Get them to talk a bit more about the issues, the problems, the barriers. And the thing is that their problems, their issues, their barriers, they may not be something that you can supply to, but maybe you know somebody who can. And that's the way you're going to start winning trust and credibility from that verbal level, is to show them, look, I'm connected. I know service providers who can help you in these areas. And even if you don't, you can show empathy. You can go, wow, yeah, I see how that would be a real issue. And then you can say, what are you already doing about this? What are you doing to try and get over this barrier? So think less about yourself and think more about, how can I investigate the other person and find out what situations they're in, what's going well for them, where they're seeing those barriers. Do I know people who can help with those barriers? Now and again, you'll be able to say, well, you know what? It's interesting because, I have a product, I have a service that absolutely deals with and helps manage that issue that you have at the moment. Would you be interested in hearing a little bit more about that? Well, chances are they're going to go, well, yeah, because it's already a barrier, a problem that they've put up. So the long and the short of this, Michael, is I'm saying go for more questions about people. Start on the positive, let them veer towards the negative, investigate the negative. They will tell you a lot via that, and then let them know if you feel like you have contacts or a product or service yourself that you can help them through those obstacles. Does that make sense, Michael?
It makes such sense, and you've put it in such a vivid as well as simple framework that I think everyone listening can take on and use. And really, a lot of what we've been talking about today is to take the focus off of ourselves and more onto others, and to really relax into being with other people, which creates more the ability for people to relax and be with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's how they're working out how they could work with you. Are they relaxed around you? Do they trust you? Do they feel it would be a good relationship? My guess is look, we know as a if you're a bookkeeper, for example, there is a certain level of practice and education that you will have had to have been through. Okay, and that's kind of a given. So now we're working out, do we like you? Do we think you'll perform well as a co-worker for us, as a provider to us? And so we're looking into the future around this. And our only way of telling the future is, how are you performing in front of me right now? Do I trust you right now? Are you inquisitive about me right now? Are you interested in me and my business right now? Because this is our biggest predictor of, will you be interested in me and my business? And can I trust you with me and my business in the future? So I often say to people, one of the best networking skills is to start the work with the potential client immediately. And you start that work immediately by showing them, look, this is what it's like to be around me. If you're with me in my office, if you visit me, if I visit you, if we go out and get lunch together to talk about business, it's going to be like this. It's going to be warm. It's going to be open. It's going to be easy. I'm going to be interested in you and the things that are barriers to you getting business. I'm going to celebrate your successes with you. I'm going to be here for you, and I'm going to be a great ally and a great friend.
Beautiful. Mark, you are a true ally and a true friend to so many people, and I think the listener can get that in this very short interview with you. It's just the wealth of knowledge and the way you present things are just absolutely fantastic. I'm excited for our listeners to take some of this gold that you've given them to use in their business, in their life, with their relationships, with their staff. I mean, it's applicable everywhere. So lots of success is going to come, I believe, out of this interview. We've only touched a very small amount of information, and that's what I love about your content, Mark, is you bring just simple things that can produce massive outcomes. But tell us a little bit about, if listeners want to get more from you, which I'm almost positive they will, where can they go? What kind of things do you have on tap that would be helpful to them to go and consume?
Yeah, so 3 areas to look at. Number 1 is to just put the word Truthplane, 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 into a Google search, and up I'll come. And get over to my website, truthplane.com. There's lots of video content on there that you can consume for free, and lots to learn about there. So get yourself over there. The other thing is to just put the name Mark Bowden, Bowden, Mark with a K, into a Google search, and up I'll come. And get over to my YouTube site. That's Mark Bowden. And there's lots, again, of video content for you to consume over there. Last place is, get yourself over to truthandlies.ca, because if you get yourself over to there and you sign up to the list for my new book, Truth and Lies, you'll also get some free video training that you can't get anywhere else. It's not on YouTube. It's not on my other website. So you might want to get yourself over to there and pick up that free training on how to present yourself as a leader in your area. So some really great presentation skills there. So just 3 areas: Truth Plane, Mark Bowden, truthandlies.ca. Check me out around those.
Beautiful. And we'll have all of those links in the show notes. And I highly recommend picking up both of your books. The content in there, I mean, this is valuable content that I think is really, really well presented. As you can tell from this presentation today, this conversation, really, Mark I mean, I've heard so many other things. I have so many other questions that I'd love to share with the audience that I've learned from you over the years of following you and consuming your content. But I'll leave it up to our listeners to go and find it from you and to enjoy it. It's valuable. Mark, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you again for being on the podcast today.
Oh, my pleasure. Always a pleasure. And so, anytime you want to chat with me for your listeners, I'm here for you.
Beautiful. Would love to have you back. And that wraps another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.